Hey, what's up everyone? This is SKULM, and in today's video I am going to talk about Season 2 Bone Spear Necromancer and how it is going to evolve. Now, I know most of you have watched the developer livestream or my videos, and now you're confused about how critical strike and vulnerable damage works and bucket changes and all that. I completely understand, but I want to show you something. This is my world record 47 seconds Lilith Killer Necromancer, Bone Spear. I want to show that I am not using vulnerable nearly at all. So, Deathless Visage, it is what it is. We have physical damage modifier and bone skill damage modifier here on the chest armor. Crit chance, attack speed, crit damage with bone, and of course ranks to Bone Spear on gloves. Temerity for the barrier, because we use conceited aspect here. Then we have the boots for essence cost reduction and movement speed. All stats and willpower helps for the powerhouse, rare node. On my weapon, no vulnerable damage. It's crit damage, core skill damage, all stats and intelligence. And I have 25k attack power, by the way. On the neck, we have, yes, Barber, but essence cost reduction, movement speed, total armor, evulsion. On the ring, no vulnerable. It's critical strike damage, crit chance, crit with bone, and max essence. And on this ring, yes, we have 12% vulnerable damage, and that's it. Rest is physical damage, and crit damage with bone skills. So, of course, you might just say, and by the way, if I actually consume corpses, go into blood mist, and yeah, see? Attack power was crazy. Anyway, you're gonna say probably, well, SKULM, your critical strike damage after 50% or after the threshold has now become additive, so you're not gonna deal the same damage anyway. That is correct. But I want to tell you, I have watched some content creators and I have also did my own calculations. Roughly, we're gonna deal half our damage, okay? This is a rough calculation, it is definitely not precise, but I want to talk about something. Right now, I'm sitting at 601 critical strike damage and my crit chance is 41%. We have Grasping Veins, that gives us further 30%, and if I pop Storm, we go up 61, so we get 30, we go pretty high on crit chance. So we have 601 critical strike damage, we have 159% crit with bone, and obviously overpower chance is low because Bone Spear is not Blood Necromancer. But our vulnerable damage is only 114.1%. So, I am going to say something. The Bone Spear Necromancer, yes, of course, we got the short end of the stick, but it is not going anywhere. In today's video, I am going to show how the Bone Spear Necromancer is going to evolve and what can we do about it. So, let's jump right in. So I want to talk about the Vampiric powers first. As you can see, we have a Curse Touch as the major power, and we have Metamorphosis as the major power. Now, I'm not so sure if we can get both to work, but I'm hoping we can at least, with decent gear, get this going. So these two major powers, I've already touched upon them on my previous video. Then we have Undying, because we're gonna be casting Bone Spear a lot, and 3% life, it heals us. It's good for passive healing and some survivability. Prey on the Weak is good for applying vulnerability. We usually apply vulnerability with the Bone Spear anyway and some Grasping Veins, but we have a 16% damage modifier here, so that's decent. And then we have Sanguine Brace. Now, I'm not so sure if I'm going to use a Sanguine Brace on Uber bosses, but definitely this is good for Nightmare dungeons, especially higher tiers, because Fortify lets you get some survivability, and then you get extra critical strike chance on top. So it's a decent power to have. I might change this one. Actually, I might change all of it, but I'm pretty sure Metamorphosis is going to play a key role for us. Hopefully combined with Accursed Touch, at least. Alright? So I am going to show you the endgame version of what I have theory crafted so far. Obviously, yes, the gear is hard to obtain, but it's a journey, okay? So we're going to assume that we have Harlequin Crest, in other words, Shaco. So Shaco gives us max life, CDR, resource generation, all stats, damage reduction, but most importantly, +4 ranks to all skills. This applies to Bone Spear. So that is going to massively boost our base Bone Spear damage. However, Bone Spear will cost more essence. So we're gonna have to somehow deal with the essence problem, and I will come to that. Soul Brand is a very interesting unique chest armor. So our potions no longer heal us, but instead they grant us a barrier for 200% of the healing for 4 seconds. So when we have a barrier active, we have 10 to 20% damage reduction. This is really good both for Nightmare Dungeons and Uber bosses. I am not so sure if I am going to use this armor, to be fair, because on my old armor piece I have selected bone skill damage and damage modifiers. We will be losing some damage this way, so I'm not so sure. Maybe I'll swap around with Temerity, but we're gonna come to a very important unique piece right now. These legs, Tybalt's Will, actually provides a huge damage modifier, okay? So let's read it. You deal 20 to 40% increased damage while unstoppable and 4 seconds after. So basically anytime you're unstoppable, you get this damage bonus, and then 4 seconds after the unstoppable effect, you keep the damage bonus, okay? When you become unstoppable, gain 50 of your primary resource. So we get 50 essence. So what makes us unstoppable? I'm gonna ask this question. Blood Mist makes us unstoppable. That's correct. But if you look at this vampiric power, Metamorphosis, whenever we evade, we turn into a cloud of bats, we become unstoppable for 4 seconds. That means for 4 seconds, we're gonna have the damage buff from the legs, and then another 4 seconds after the unstoppable effect ends. That's 8 seconds. We're gonna keep that damage buff for 8 seconds, okay? This is really important. Anytime we evade, we restore 50 essence. You know where this is going, right? +4 evade charges. So we get a boot with +3 to evade. We have 1 evade charge ourselves. That's +4 to evade, yeah? So we will have 4 evades. That is 200 essence on demand that we can restore. Alright? It's really good. And it gets better because we have Ring of Starless Skies. Anytime we cast Bone Spear, the essence cost of the next Bone Spear is going to be reduced by 8 to 12%, up to maximum 40%. So we can cast more Bone Spears at a reduced cost, and anytime we are low on essence, we can just evade and we can just restore 50 essence. Alright? Now we have Conceited Aspect because we have a damage modifier this way. So we deal 15 to 25% increased damage when we have a barrier active. And what gives us barrier? Our potions. We can have up to infinite barriers with our potions. Anytime we press the potion, the primary instant healing will no longer exist. It will become a barrier. And after that, the follow-up healing will still heal us, okay? So this is pretty good. So we have on-demand damage increase through our potions. We have on-demand essence gain through our evade charges this way. So I'm going to briefly talk about the stats. We don't know the stats of the new unique items. However, we know that on gloves, we definitely want, again, Ossified Essence Key passive, Aspect of Serration legendary, we have critical strike chance, attack speed, crit damage with bone, and ranks to Bone Spear. This is non-negotiable. We want these. This is for sure. On the boots, we want evade charges, movement speed, essence cost reduction, intelligence, and all stats, because we want to activate the powerhouse rare node as well. On the weapon, again, no vulnerable damage. We go with core skill damage, crit strike with bone, and preferably either intelligence or all stats. This will work. On the amulet, we want bone skill damage, essence cost reduction, movement speed, and evolution passive. Okay? These are still good. Again, this is a unique ring. You can replace this with exposed flesh if you want, or any other legendary. I am not 100% done on theory crafting this build, but Ring of Starless Skies is a decent option because it provides core skill damage, critical strike damage, and crit chance. So we want to stack those up still. Even after they become additive, we still want to stack them up. On the conceited aspect ring, we want again crit chance, crit damage, max essence, and physical damage. Now, you can replace the physical damage with critical strike damage with bone skills, but applying some base damage is good because we can get up to 925 item level items, which means we're gonna have decent weapon damage as well. So when we add all these together, we can actually have more control over our character this way. And it is important to talk about it because yes, we will deal less damage, approximately half. A little bit less than that actually, but anyway. But still, the monsters are gonna get nerfed as well because they're bringing the monsters down, the monster power down as well. So what we want to do is we want to have control of the situation. We want to apply damage and we want to survive this way. So this new Season 2 Bone Spear Necromancer completely focuses on those. Our sacrifices are the same. Nothing changes here. On the skill tree, I am playing around with Hemorrhage and Initiate's Hemorrhage for the new buffed Fortify application. Since it calculates based on our maximum life, I am playing around with that. I will check later what can happen. Everything else is pretty much the same. Nothing major, nothing changes. Inspiring Leader is really good to grant you attack speed because now it applies after 2 seconds, which is decent. On the Paragon nodes, we are going to give away Gravekeeper and we're going to replace it with Corporeal, most likely, because it grants us 10% increased physical damage, okay? And it buffs all the magic nodes within range, which actually gives 5% damage here, 5% damage there. So this is, again, that 10% here. That's a lot of damage increase. You also have some armor and intelligence nodes here, which is okay, I guess. But again, the main point of putting Corporeal here is to buff these damage nodes, okay? Then on Bone Graft, you're still gonna go with Essence or Exploit, up to you. I prefer Essence personally, I don't know why. Some other important point to talk about is the magic node that grants potion healing. Now, I'm not so sure, but these magic nodes that grant potion healing might apply to Soul Brand, because when we get more potion healing, supposedly we should get more barrier, right? So that's what I'm counting on, pretty much. And after that, you know, the Scent of Death Imbiber combination. This is pretty good. And it also grants us 30% increased potion healing as the additional bonus, so that's decent. So on the Scent of Death one, you want to get all the willpower nodes to get damage while healthy. That goes up to 106% damage while healthy, which is a major source of your damage. So you can go up to Flesh Eater. You can still play Sacrificial here because it grants bonus to magic nodes, and there is damage to elites here, the targeted rare node, so you can deal more damage that way. I have picked up Erudite for resistance to elements and put some additional resistances here. It also gives us 10 intelligence this way, so you save up 2 intelligence nodes, get some resistances instead. In total, you should have 40 intelligence here, 10 from Erudite. 10 from targeted, that's 20. This is 25, 30, 35, and then 40. So 40 intelligence points have been met here. Flesh Eater is always good because that's 40% damage increase after consuming 5 corpses. And lastly, of course, you're gonna go to Bloodbath and you put the exploit glyph here. As usual, it's still decent because dealing damage to a vulnerable enemy increases your damage by 1% for 6 seconds up to 10%. This is an additional bonus. Okay, so it's still decent. And we have some the hardened is good because you deal damage while fortified, and if you meet the additional requirements, that's another 10% damage. But Powerhouse again is pretty good because it grants you damage while healthy. Now some of these are additive, I know they are not multiplicative, but still we're gonna bank on critical strike damage. Okay, as I said at the start of the video, I have already played with a lot of critical strike damage. I have already banked a lot on critical strike damage. I did not combine vulnerable and crit as most people did, and I still got the world record. It's a tied world record, but it is what it is. So then, as you can see, this is the new evolved theorycrafted Necromancer. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think about this? What would you change? What build would you play? And also for the jewelries, you can put some the diamonds for resistance to all elements if you want, or some specific ones, up to you. I have used skulls because Necromancer is an intelligence-based character, so we should have an easier time dealing with resistances, I think. For the Nightmare dungeons, the build changes a little bit. Probably I'm going to integrate Lidless Wall. That will take care of the barrier department, which means I might change something else here, but I'm not so sure. Right now I'm completely focusing on Uber bosses and how I would tackle them. As a finishing note, I'm really happy for the Blood Necromancers. I understand their hype, and I really am also excited to see Blood Necromancers perform, but I am pretty skeptical about Blizzard. I have been playing Blizzard games since God knows when, I guess 2001 or something, and usually when something looks okay on paper, it might not look okay in game. There are lots of coding involved, bugs involved, so stuff might not work as it's supposed to be working. So, you know, keep that information with a grain of salt. Nothing is for certain right now, but I hope Blood Necromancer becomes an S tier spec. I really would like to play it myself, but right now I'm gonna stick with what I know. Okay, I am a Bone Spear or Summon Necromancer main, so I'm gonna stick to what I know. I'm gonna stick to my guns. This is what I'm thinking right now. This is my theory crafting right now. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think about it? I'll see you in the next one. Take care.